Thank you. This clause, by extending the provision to vulnerable and not just priority need, goes to the very heart of the bill, which is about expanding what we do for everybody that needs the help on offer. These are very important checks that we're talking about. Things like gas safety, electricity records, these are essential to people's not only well-being but actual lives. And the group of people, the vulnerable, are not necessarily those that would be able to make sure these checks had been done beforehand. A lot of people who rent from the private sector, of course, are very aware of the checks that they need and quite capable and able of getting those checks all the way through. And a lot of those that are vulnerable will be able to as well, but there are a group of people that cannot, and it's important that we look after their well-being and ensure that they are in safe accommodation. A number of members have spoken about rogue landlords and the work that's already been done and the work that still needs to be done, and this clause must be seen in conjunction with tackling rogue landlords and not in isolation, because alone this is not sufficient. It is important to note that not all landlords are rogue landlords at all, and they are providing a great deal of service by providing these housing, but we must look after those that are affected by housing that is not up to standard. Another point I want to note is that a lot of councils throughout the country will already be doing these checks. I know that Wiltshire Council, that are the council in my constituency, already do provide checks for a number of people that are vulnerable. However, the standard that we need across the country needs to be one standard, and we need to ensure that no matter where you live or wherever you are homeless, you need to have the same provision of care given to you. And that is very much what this bill seeks to initiate. I want to touch on a point that was referenced by one of the opposite members in the last session, which was to do with the fact that although this expands it to vulnerable people, not everybody that is in need will actually fit into that category. For instance, pregnant women, and there's a whole host of other different types of anomalies that will slip through that gap, that actually if you sat back you would think they are very much in need of these extra checks on private accommodation. So I would urge the Minister to think about expanding this clause. I know that if I had the thought of constituents in my own constituency of Chippenham, pregnant women, etc., that were what I would deem vulnerable, unable to get these additional checks, it would be harrowing for them, and also to detriment of all of us that are working on this bill. We need to make sure that it is inclusive and encompasses help for all.